Hi, everyone. I'm Travis Peterson. I'm part of the Hollice T. Williams Design and Expansion team. And I'm joined today by Laura, Sam, and Scott from MVVA, our park design consultants. And they are here to walk you through the visioning plan. Whether you were able to attend our April meeting and need a refresher, or if you weren't able to attend and want to get caught up, this is your chance. So we're going to turn off our videos so you can focus on the presentation, and I will turn it over to Laura.
Thanks, Travis. So I'm Laura Solano, and I'm with Michael Van Valkenburg Associates, MVVA. We are the park designers. And I'm going to talk about why we're doing a vision plan. Well, a vision plan simply allows us to imagine the ultimate possibilities for making a public park at Hollice T. Williams, and with the addition of Long Hollow Park, it will be about an 88-acre park, which is extraordinary. When all is said and done, it's going to end up being the biggest park in Pensacola. So the visioning plan has three purposes. One is to prepare a roadmap for transformation, for transforming the park improvements over the next 20 years, which is going to be done in four phases. And that will include four phases of design, community engagement, and construction. It's a big park, as I said. We can't afford to build it all at once, even though we have some funding in hand. But by preparing a visioning plan, we're going to help the community see the potential for the site so that they can be part of its transformation. We're also, 20 years is a long time, so we're also going to make sure that we don't have any development missteps. Things change over time. Pieces of the park may, the uses may change over time. And so we're going to create a way to look forward and make sure that we're not preventing good ideas that we have now from being done later. The last reason is to establish future funding needs. We need to understand how much money we're going to need in the future phases in order to build the park the way that we've envisioned it collectively. And so this will allow us to make promotional materials for the city to pursue funding, and that will demonstrate that the city is ready to move forward with those ideas. So, how have we been thinking about the site? It's an odd place for a park, right? Underneath and next to a highway. It's a really tough site. And one of the things that's hard is that local parks local roads cut through the park and kind of chop it up into parcels, as you're seeing on the left-hand photograph. So if we can eliminate some of those roads, then we can start to unify those parcels. Now, which roads we're going to eliminate is going to be a big discussion with the community, as well as getting the backup engineering information with a traffic engineer. So we'll be looking at that over time. And we also think that by eliminating some of the roads that we will make a safer park. So cars will be less dominant within the park itself. The other thing is we want to incorporate existing uses. There are perfectly fine things that are operating well, like the pool, and we know that the recreation fields are used, and so those are going to stay put. But how do we deal with a highway? Well, we need to really diminish its presence. The interstate is just overwhelming. When you're there, it's not only big and loud, and you can smell fumes. So how do we make a park that can be bolder than the interstate? Well, we sort of put it this way. We think that the narrative of what's dominant in this space kind of needs to be flipped. So the park will be a place where it happens to have a highway going through it instead of a highway with a park below it. And so, how do we do that? Well, one is we use all of those devices that nature brings us, like plants and topography and buffering, in order to create a park that the landscape feels like it's the more dominant aspect. And Scott, who's going to take you through the park design, is going to show you some of those illustrations that help you see what we're thinking about here. Another thing is the highway sets up this kind of engineering grid. And we think if we start to weave paths and uses in and amongst those columns, that it will kind of diminish their presence and it'll give people a way to move through the park and to be in the park that isn't all about the highway. Another thing we think about is how are people going to use the park? And we've had a lot of community meetings, and the community has been so helpful in defining what kind of uses. And so, we know people want active recreation, passive recreation, areas to play, and for the adults to watch kids to play. We know that Pensacola has a pretty active community of culture and events, and so we need places for that. And then we just need spaces that are flexible, that allow people to just come to the park, whether it's every day or during an activity during the year. And just a mention of, one of the reasons, one of the catalysts for thinking about remaking the park now is that it's no secret, stormwater is a really big issue in Pensacola. And so in Long Hollow Pond, whose acreage is going to be really added to the park, it's going to help with stormwater storage, and how that gets conveyed and how water can be treated. And both the park and Long Hollow Pond have their roles. Long Hollow Pond will hold more water, and Hollice T. Williams Park will enable water to be collected during big storms and then quickly go away so that it can take some of that capacity as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Scott so that he can go through the design with you in more detail.
Thank you, Laura. So, we really want this park to be a place where everyone feels welcome, everybody has something to do, and everyone feels invited. And that's why we've done such robust public outreach and engagement. And there's still time to provide comment and feedback. At a macro scale, when we talk about park use, our hope is that from the East Side neighborhood, there's a whole lot of neighborhood activity. So places you can go for a stroll, sit in a comfortable bench, play some sports, enjoy some neighborhood play elements. And then along Palafox Street, our hope is that you're able to do what we call more destination programming. That means places you'd bring your friends and family from out of town, things that would support larger scale events, and really create larger scale community spaces along the Palafox side of the park. Starting from the northern end along Maxwell Street, our hope is to create a long, continuous valley of green. And within that valley of green, we're able to fit one youth football field and one full-size football field. These could either be used for football or other sports, soccer, etc. They could also be used for large-scale gatherings as well. In between those fields, we have an existing large-scale grove of trees that we intend to keep and create a moment of nature in between the fields. As we get closer to the swimming pool, we were proposing an open water stormwater storage area that would also add just a piece of ecology and passive park making. We heard a lot of feedback that that might not be the best use there, so we're exploring other options. And adjacent to that, along Haynes Street, a combination of sports courts and play areas. As we get to Blunt, we're currently showing it closed. We heard a lot from the public to consider keeping that road. So again, we're exploring putting Blunt Street back into the plan. And what we have here is what we're calling the wheeled sports loop. And this is a very long loop where if you're learning to ride a bike or want to go for rollerblading or skateboarding, it's a loop that affords different options of activity. So the innermost loop will be have a lot of topography, maybe some features off to the side of it, and the outermost loop will be more about passive strolling, etc. Again, we have some more active recreation cells that can fit smaller court sports, neighborhood areas for more passive gathering, and then where the old storage yard used to be, or current storage yard, we're proposing to relocate that so that we can have more continuous park area and additional programming. Our hope is that you're able to cross at grade at Cervantes Street and also underneath to create a looped connection. And that brings us to the existing police station and water tank that we'd like to reconfigure the parking lot in order to allow for more access in and around this area. We have the skate park and community garden, which stay as is and will be improved with planting and seating and pathways. And then several more areas for program that we're looking to the community to help us continue to specify the exact use. Throughout the Hollice T. Williams site, we want to create memorials and ways to celebrate the lost neighborhood as well. As we move on to the Long Hollow side, we have a new parking area, which provides access to the pond, a whole giant series of pathways that bring you up and down and around and through. These would be great for running and jogging. And then a destination playground. So this would be the coolest playground in Pensacola and have a whole lot of variety to it. And then finally, our event and lawn space where we could see concerts, food trucks, art events, all sorts of different gathering with all the space you would need to accommodate a large scale and exuberant entertainment area. So what does that look like at eye level? We want a place that feels comfortable, that has the right balance of passive park area where you can relax and stroll and get away from your daily life, and balance that with active areas. So we believe with this image, it starts to paint a picture of what that looks like at eye level. You'll notice the interstate is not as present as it is current day. And there's just a whole lot of options to move both north-south and east-west as you traverse the park area. And all of a sudden, we have this giant new park at Long Hollow. And we see this being a great engine for the city to manage stormwater, but also a place where you can enjoy running and strolling, passive nature experiences, and hopefully some educational spaces as well. And finally, if you have some free time, we would love for you to visit the physical model that we created. It's at City Hall, and it gives you a sense of the extents, how you can move through the site, what it will kind of look and feel like. And you can kind of imagine being in the place because we have little tiny people all over the model. So you could just pretend you're those tiny little people and try to imagine what this setting will feel like. The next step is we're looking at phase 1, and we will have more information soon related to that. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott and Laura, for that overview. We're really looking forward to bringing the team back to Pensacola in August. We'll have more information to come, but please take a few minutes to fill out our survey that you'll find on our website, htwpensacola.com, and give us your thoughts and opinions on this vision plan. Additionally, we'd like to start asking you to think about ways to commemorate the lost neighborhood throughout the park. If there are certain memories or places that you recall or that you've heard of, we're going to be asking you to share those stories with us so that we can help to incorporate those elements into the park design. We hope to see you soon. Be sure and follow us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at htwpensacola.com. And we can't wait to hear from you.